It is really all about being in the context of what people are talking about at that time. And that's kind of what we mean by contextual commerce. And that's what we're really focused on building out over the next year and into the future.
You're listening to Retail Remix, your inside access to candid conversations with the people shaping retail's future. Here's your host, Alicia Esposito.
We've heard time and time again that consumers now demand not just authenticity, but transparency from brands. But my question is, are we as an industry really delivering that? According to research from Reddit, more than half of U.S. shoppers say they're concerned with the quality and legitimacy of the product discovery channels they use most. That's pretty staggering, especially because we talk so much about how social media has changed the game and bridged the gap between brands and their consumers, and how ratings and reviews help make this experience more seamless, transparent, and honest for consumers who just want to find the best product for their needs. It's really a troubling situation, especially because brands and retailers are investing so much time, energy, and effort in refining their marketing strategies, working with influencers, and even engaging their most loyal shoppers to share their feedback, their reviews, and their experiences with their products. Well, Reddit is trying to tackle that by really leaning into context. They have an incredibly engaged community. In fact, they've reached more than 500 million monthly users who are contributing to more than 16 billion, that's with a B, posts and comments per year. Within all of these conversations, there's incredible insight, thoughtfulness, and community-driven perspectives that brands and retailers can effectively be a part of. Now, in my opinion, the opportunity that exists on Reddit is completely undercovered, completely undertapped, and presents a huge opportunity for you, our listeners. That's why today I wanted to replay a session all about this topic, straight from the Retail Innovation Conference and Expo. We were lucky enough to have Bob Ferdman, Reddit's head of retail, lead a discussion featuring some incredible practitioners in the field, including executives from the Home Depot and Altra running. They really dug deep into why Reddit is such a compelling platform for them, why they're leaning into community and context, and how that lends itself to really compelling and engaging advertising opportunities. Now, this conversation was recorded at the show, but it is not being reshared anywhere else. So I'm giving you a bit of an exclusive today. Listen in and get your pens ready because they share some great tips, takeaways, and more validation for why maybe you should be looking into Reddit for your next big advertising opportunity.
Thank you, everybody. So I lead our retail team at Reddit. We know the topic of the conference and theme across the board is community, content, and commerce, but what we're really going to talk about is context. Just a little bit of background about me. My career's kind of come full circle. So I started my career at rollingstone.com way back in the day when we were the website for Rolling Stone magazine. And there was no business plan, and the magazine was like, why do we have a website where people could read our content? We need people to buy the magazines. So my job was to get people to sign up to the website, collect some data, so we could have logged in users who spent some time on the site, and we could sell some ads. And what we ended up doing was building a lot of community products, message boards, chat, email newsletters, etc. And my job was fostering community for music fans all over the world. And then I moved on to Leo Burnett, where I led brand strategy for Kellogg's and McDonald's and Samsung. And then I was at Facebook, where I worked in retail in the early days of what became kind of performance marketing. And now I've kind of come full circle at Reddit, where all of these things are coming together. Community, commerce, and what we're going to talk about is context. And I'm so glad we've got some awesome friends up here that we're going to talk to in a second about their experiences with us and how they see the world. But when we think about retail, the first thing that we do is start thinking about, hey, if we're going to play a role in this space, just what's it like as somebody just shopping and buying stuff, right? And think about just people first. And shopping's hard. It's like overwhelming. This is a great description because when I buy lipstick, I have a really hard time figuring out what is for me. No, but it's true for anything. You go to any store, you go shopping for anything. It's like there's so many choices and options that you're kind of left like, what do I do? What color do I get? What size do I get? What's quality? What's going to work for me? There's a ton of decisions to make. And trust is kind of a hard thing to come by, right? It's hard to trust what you're seeing online, what you're hearing from brands, what you're hearing from peers and whatnot. Trust is a hard thing as consumers. It's a hard thing for marketers to gain from buyers. And it's a problem that's kind of like growing, right? You've all seen sort of headlines like this about scams and clickbait online, social media maybe not being as real as you thought it was, ton of influencers and things that just don't look as real as they actually are once you get them in your hands, things driven by algorithms that are kind of creating like anxiety and paranoia, blah, blah, blah. And when you think about your most valuable customers, if you're a retailer, are really kind of that Gen Z who are growing up now, they're starting to get this, right? They're starting to not believe influencers as much as they have in the past and kind of sort of doubting what they're seeing online. They're starting to recognize that, like, hey, maybe all these reviews on Amazon don't seem quite right. I don't really trust them. They say that for about up to 40% of Amazon reviews that people think are like fake and not real. Industry press is starting to call this out, right? So you see articles like this, fake reviews on Amazon, what's going on with Google search. We should care about de-influencing. There's so much of that stuff going on, and it's all great and it's been good, but it's kind of like, am I buying this stuff anymore as a person? Is this stuff real? Can I trust it? The thing about Reddit is, believe it or not, we're like the most trustworthy platform, according to people, that there is. You can see how we rank against the other social platforms in terms of like, hey, the stuff that I'm reading on Reddit, I actually believe and trust is real. Quote here from somebody, the one platform that I trust with my life is Reddit, because literally if I have any question, I'm going to find an answer that actually is trustworthy and real and in-depth and analytical. We recently IPO'd, which is a great big deal. But what's even cooler about this is what the New York Times had to say, which is, we're a gem of the internet, in a world where, in our space, social media, is just kind of getting driven by algorithms and sometimes clickbait and AI and bots and what's real. We're a place where real people gather to talk about real things, unmediated by algorithms and largely free of mindless engagement bait, which is, we think, a real need in the world. We think people are craving this. And it's true. As the world's changing, as social media has changed, there is a need for authenticity and just real human connection and real people talking. And that's why we see our user growth growing like this, while others are decelerating or even losing users. We're up to 151 million plus weekly active users in the US, and we're growing, we're getting global, all that good stuff. And we think it's not just because of the platform. We think there's a real human need out there for what we've got. And so if you're not super familiar with Reddit, and just want to give you some quick background, and then we're going to get into like what we mean by contextual commerce, and then talk to our friends about how they see the world and what's important to them. But we sit in the social media space. Most social media is really focused on you. You start with your profile. You're talking about yourself and really the individual and broadcasting sort of your polished image to the world. Reddit's all about community. It's a big, huge network of communities that's really just about what interests you. It's anonymous. It's a place where people come to kind of connect on everything from entertainment to very specific things that are going on in your life, whether it's financial planning or you want to fix something in your house, whatever it may be. No influencers live here, but it's a place where people come to get real, authentic information and connection about the things that they care about. So we're a massive community of communities. In the retail world, This runs the gamut from just some examples up here from running, Altra shoes is up here, to high-end luxury items and the gamut. There's over 100,000 communities on Reddit. There's massive engagement. In the last year, there were 16 billion posts and comments made on the platform. And what we're finding more and more of is people coming to the platform directly with questions around, what should I buy next? Hey, I'm thinking about this. I need some real authentic help here. What should I do? Whether that's buying a new car or a handbag or building a laptop for gaming. This is what we're starting to see on Reddit, and we have seen on Reddit, but happening more and more all the time. Here's a real life example of how this might work. There's a fictional person named Drew who's sitting right here in the audience in the front, who just bought a new house. He's had a couple kids. He's a new homeowner. He is on Reddit. He's looking for things to buy for his house, and he sees this thing about what should I buy on Black Friday. A suggestion comes up for, you're definitely going to need a ladder, and here's a great sale, and here's a link to it. He starts drilling down the feed into the conversations. He's getting all sorts of great advice and confirmation from other people chiming in that, like, this thing is awesome. It's the best one you're going to get. You totally need this. And lo and behold, Drew ends up buying that exact ladder from the Home Depot. And now he can reach the top of his attic and all the things that he needs to do in his new home. But that type of sequence happens all the time across all sorts of categories on Reddit. We like to say that today's conversations are tomorrow's search results, because maybe you've done this. Do you guys use, this is a small enough audience, are people familiar with Reddit? Have you used Reddit? Have you added Reddit to the end of the search? Because you probably have, because 23 billion people are doing this like in a year, adding Reddit to the end of their Google searches, because they're basically getting to the place where they can find their answer more directly. And so we're at Reddit and we're sitting here like, well, what can we build? What makes sense to help solve problems for businesses like yourselves to participate and play and do what you need to have to do as marketers? And so our biggest asset is the conversation that we're sitting on. And we're an 18-year-old company, and we have the deepest repository of real, authentic conversation from human beings about all sorts of things to build upon. And so that's what we're going to take advantage of. And so we've made some investments in some companies to help us figure out how to enhance the platform from a user standpoint. So maybe offering up communities you might be interested in. But for marketers and advertisers, really some cool new ways to make sure that we can help you sell the things that you need to sell to people, not just where they are, but in the right context of conversations. And so, I'm not sure if all of you are on the media side of the house, but search and social have been around for a while right now. We see ourselves building something that's sort of a combination of the two things, which I'm super stoked about, because I've been at Reddit for about 5 years, and this is what I was hoping we were going to build when I came over. I could see the potential of what we could do, and now we're starting to build it, because there's so much conversation on Reddit. You could treat us like a social platform and use all of our interest-based targeting. There's all sorts of discovering content and new things that happen in people's feeds and in communities. But now with keywords and all the stuff that we're building, you can almost treat us like a search platform, because we're going to bake that into our targeting and make sure that your messages could deliver to the people exactly right in context of those conversations and situations, whether that's in feed or in conversation. And so we're starting to build these ad solutions that are bringing the best of search and social together, that we think is going to be really beneficial, not just to users, because the more relevant all content is, including ads, is a good thing for users, but also for marketers who want to basically be right where people are already thinking about making a purchase about something that's super relevant to their brands. So this is what it looks like. Contextual advertising has existed for a long time. Most platforms are not able to do what we're able to do because they don't have the conversation piece. So their version of context is using some offsite signals from advertisers, maybe some pixel data, some retargeting. Ours is able to use offsite and onsite signals to ensure that, in this example, you're in a community called Running Shoe Geeks, and someone's got a very specific question about Altra running shoes, which I happen to be wearing. They're awesome. But they're a very specific shoe for a very specific runner. And their ads are able to appear right here in the context of that conversation, right as people are talking about them. This works across the funnel. Home Depot here, Reddit is a huge platform, so people are coming for the latest news and entertainment. Sports is a huge deal on the platform. The Home Depot in this example had a big, huge effort with Shaq around March Madness. They came to us and said, hey, let's do some awareness stuff in context. And so all of these ads showed up in college basketball communities and March Madness communities. And what we started to see was when you're in context, performance is better. So these ads had a 2x click-through rate compared to the ads that didn't appear in communities like this. Another example, Decor Days, a big sale event for the Home Depot. A big deal, a great sale. We put it in context, targeting communities like interior decorating, and it shows up right as people are talking about interior decorating. They see a massive increase in CTRs. Altra running shoes is doing some creative best practices here with this stuff, right? Like we talked to brands about like acting like a Redditor. So Redditors are coming to seek information. The best ads on Reddit kind of give you the user some information where you can really talk about your points of difference and do some selling in ways that you can't do on other platforms. When they do this, what they're seeing is that should actually say increased, well, it's LTV, but it's really an increased ROAS. What Altra is seeing, and Bree can talk about, is they're seeing better in-platform ROAS than they're seeing in other platforms. And what we mean by in-platform is we're measuring our stuff in-platform. Facebook is, Pinterest is as well. Our results in-platform are looking a little bit better than some of the other platforms. That's not necessarily how Altra measures, but that's fine. They've got a system that brings everything together, but we're really encouraged by what we're seeing. And it's just going to get better and better. Nike is a huge brand that Grace manages on behalf of them at their agency PMG. They're playing with a new unit we have called Freeform. In this case, Nike's getting after a new category. They're getting into women's fitness, and they've created this unit to essentially be like a mini guide, almost like a mini catalog, all the benefits of the new line that they're coming out with. And you can see that it's not only targeting these communities, but it's also calling out these communities in their creative, which is really great. So we're talking directly to communities like r/fitness, using Reddit language like YSK means you should know. That's common on Reddit. And what they're seeing is a ton of engagement on these units. So an average of 17 seconds, which is like 70% higher than the norm that we see time spent on Reddit. So context works across the funnel, whether you want to go big at an awareness moment, get very specific, speak to communities. And the next thing that we're launching, and it is just launched, is our version of dynamic product ads. And the difference for us is it's not just about creating dynamic product ads that are just purely retargeting people who have seen that product before and serving, a lot of places we'll talk about, we're going to serve the right message to the right person at the right time. Well, we're doing all that stuff, but these are going to be placed in the right context of where they are on Reddit using our keyword targeting to kind of power that. So it's pretty cool. Some initial testing has been done. We're seeing greater ROAS than we've seen on other campaigns. We're really encouraged by what we're seeing, and we're hoping more and more advertisers are going to leverage this because it is really all about being in the context of what people are talking about at that time. And that's kind of what we mean by contextual commerce. And that's what we're really focused on building out over the next year and into the future. And hopefully it's just getting better and better. The last thought we're going to leave you with is just sort of this whole idea that making choices is hard. Learning to choose is hard. Learning to choose well is even harder. And learning to choose well in a world of unlimited possibilities is harder still, perhaps even too hard, which is why Reddit is a great place to come to when you're looking to make the next purchase, get some quality advice about things that might be helpful for you to buy while you're on your purchase journey. And so with that, I'd love to introduce the rest of the panel. And maybe we could just start by telling us who you are, where you work, and what your most favorite recent Reddit experience was.
Sure. I can kick it off. I'm Bray Hernandez. I'm the Senior Media Manager for Altra Running. And my guilty pleasure is reality TV. The trashier, the better. So I love the Real Housewives communities. They keep me laughing all the time.
Hi, I'm Grace Leslack. I'm a paid social director at PMG on our Nike account. And on Reddit, it has saved me many times when it comes to houseplants. Not sure if we have anyone in the audience who loves houseplants like I do, but if you know, you probably struggle a little bit keeping them alive. So it's been great for me to kind of go to have that community there.
And I'm Amanda Morris. I am the Director of Media at the Home Depot. And I have been using Reddit recently as my form of reality TV and drama. I've been on a lot of flights lately, so I've been seeing the debates around should people be leaning their chairs back in the airplane or not. That has been the highlight of my week on Reddit.
Thank you guys for being here. So we just want to keep this really conversational. And one of the things that we talk about Reddit a lot is we don't collect a ton of data from people. You could use Reddit logged in or not logged in. A lot of buzz is out there in the world just about how the digital landscape is changing and what's going on with cookies and signals and blah, 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 blah. That's got to be important to you guys. So just curious, as leading marketers in your spaces, how do you guys think about that changing world? And any one of you guys could start and then go from there.
Yeah, sure. I'll kick it off. I think, it's our job as marketers to really know and understand our customers in this evolving digital landscape. What we're seeing is that it is fragmented. You are receiving multiple messages across multiple screens all throughout your day. So how do we really get our hands around customer behavior? And how do we take that idea of what customer behavior is evolving into and use that to build media strategies to reach our customers with the right messages more effectively? And part of that is being contextually relevant to their need state, right? Are they in a shopping mindset? Are they in an informational mindset? Are they in a consideration mindset? That's what we're considering as that fragmented landscape continues to just break apart into those pieces.
I think as we move towards this new cookieless future as well, part of the way to future-proof our strategy, and that we're doing, at least for on the Nike side, and we've worked with Reddit towards having a CAPI integration. And so what that is a conversions API. It allows for a server-to-server connection that helps fortify that signal. I think in addition to that, just adopting a testing and learning mindset. So whether that's reaching a new audience with maybe a broader targeting strategy than you've used in the past, or trying out a different objective within the marketing funnel, just adopting that mindset and taking what's been successful for your brand and iterating on that is a great way to kind of move towards the future.
Yeah, kind of similarly to what Grace was saying, at Altra, we're an emerging brand, and so we definitely have a fail fast ethos, and part of that is diversifying our media mix and always testing and learning. So it's been really beneficial for us to lean into Reddit because it is a newer advertising platform, and there's so much that we can test there. Many of the other channels just have a ton of limitations when it comes to targeting or segmenting. Like Grace was saying, you have to target very broadly. So it's been great for us to be able to test into Reddit and diversify our ad mix. I mean, there's always going to be a disruption, whether it's human or algorithm, macro level. So you have to be nimble, and channels like Reddit, where there are sort of like sub channels, whether it's search or social, allow you to do that.
Cool. We love that. You guys all sort of touched on the same thing, but what's interesting is we've got kind of like a smaller sort of challenger brand, a really established global brand, a massive retailer like the Home Depot up here, and you all have different sort of shopper journeys. Can you talk a little bit about, you touched on it a little bit, Amanda, but what does the modern shopping journey look like for you guys, and how do you think about it? How do you wrap your head around it and even think about how to activate and measure against it?
I can say, yeah. I mean, so there's no silver bullet to measurement, right? So we approach measurement with a 360-degree approach. So we use several tools, whether it's MMM, MTA, incrementality, brand or conversion lift studies, and we triangulate all of that, overlay that data to see what's true and what's not, right? I think what's really helpful about that is it helps you validate the data that you have, and it also pushes your team to be data first. You have to put in the right inputs to these measurement tests. So it requires you to really level up and step up your first party data collection. And I think, a lot of these tools are free or open source. I don't think a lot of advertisers understand that or realize that. So while the North Star or ideal state would be to use an expert vendor for some of those solutions, you can certainly find an open source and push your internal or agency teams to adopt that for you.
Yeah, I like what you touched on about having a wide range of measurement solutions. I think what we see now is that the purchase journey isn't linear. And so even the way that we search now is different. We're not always just going to Google. Sometimes we'll go to Reddit and we'll want to lean into a certain community to ask questions, or you'll go to TikTok to see videos and just build that social proof before you're ready to make a purchase. And so with that, it's not always something that's going to be accounted for in a last click attribution model. So making sure that you do have either an incrementality solution or a brand lift study attached to be able to measure things that are a little less tangible, like brand sentiment over time, for example, rather than just that direct purchase, is something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I definitely echo what both of you said. I think the only thing I would add there too is probably that same test and learn mindset that you spoke to earlier is crucial. Understanding what works and what doesn't is, the idea of coming in and testing and really learning as you go and making adjustments along the way. At the Home Depot in particular, the purchase conversion journey is sometimes really straightforward. You need a garden hose, this spring because you're trying to water all of your plants. That's an immediate purchase, and seeing a product of a garden hose show up in the marketplace is what's going to drive you to make that purchase conversion. But if you're building a deck in your backyard, that is such a longer lead time to conversion, where you are thinking about what that project might look like. You are considering what products you will need to build that deck. It's such a longer stretch of time before you actually make that final purchase and complete that project. So being nimble along the way, making sure that you have the right inputs into your models, whether you're using MMM, MTA, LTA, or a triangulation of those to get towards proper measurement. I think testing and learning and iterating and understand where your customer sits along that journey is crucial.
Cool. Let's talk a little bit about personalization and what that means, right? So, the promise of this new digital world was being very personalized. And in a lot of ways it is. And platforms out there have gotten really great about algorithms and just serving people up content that they think they're going to want and they've shown interest in by a view or a click or whatnot. And the machines have gotten so smart. And on the ad side, the future, the promise was, hey, we know who you are. We're kind of tracking you. We're going to serve you up all these personalized messages. And I'm curious if that has really been working and what you think about that versus has the world gotten a little bit too personalized? Or is that version of personalization working and where context fits into that? And would you like to see more of this context idea taking shape? Because it is a little bit like going back to the future, but we're in a world where machines have taken over. And how important is context to how you think about personalization and where things fit in? Because you spend a lot of energy and time and resources on getting so personalized, right? We all do in our world. So curious what you guys think about that.
Yeah. To me, the root of that question is really around trust. What are customers, who are customers trusting, and what sources are they using to get trusted information before they make their purchases? So I think, at the Home Depot, one of the things we prioritize is how do we become radically helpful to our customers as they engage in projects that they may not know how to complete, and showing up in a space like Reddit where folks are giving each other pieces of advice on their home projects allows us to show up in a contextually relevant way with helpful information to help them complete those projects. So Bob, you gave great examples with Decor Days, I think, being one of them. As a customer is scrolling through, an interior design subreddit and looking for information on, are we using wallpaper right now or are we not? I think being able to show up with, contextually relevant content in that moment about a sale that could potentially help them get that product easier and faster is extremely helpful to our customers, and that's what we're working towards prioritizing.
I think that's something too that really makes for a much less intrusive ad experience when you're really looking for something and it's there versus something that doesn't seem to fit together. We've seen that help kind of improve brand sentiment over time. We talk a lot sometimes about, wanting to disrupt the marketplace or break through the noise, but this isn't an instance when we want that. We do want our content to be along conversations that are happening in real time, so it does feel authentic to engage with consumers with the brands that they're hoping to see.
I really like what you said about trust. The Altra consumer is a very specific and niche type of runner. They're early adopters. They're very focused on not just staying comfortable, but staying healthy. So our shoes have a wide toe box, which is unlike a lot of shoes on the market. And they're not for everyone.
I got a weird foot. I love it. Yeah.
And so it's been really challenging for us to target the right consumer because, as you can imagine, with all of the targeting and privacy restrictions and limitations that have come into play in the last couple years, we're not really able to target those niche audiences of runners. We have to target very broadly to be able to scale and reach enough consumers. So it's been great to lean into contextual targeting with Reddit because we're able to find those groups of really niche runners who are looking to invest in like the latest and greatest running technology and who are looking for different types of shoes. Ultimately, they're able to look in those threads in each community and see what people think about Altras. And it really helps with us building that trust that we really couldn't do elsewhere.
Yeah. Awesome. So you guys are super important to us. We want to build more cool stuff. We're building a lot of cool stuff. We've got a lot of the measurement solutions you guys are talking about, like in place and or emerging. We've got the shopping ad stuff coming. What would you tell Reddit? Like, hey, it sounds like the contextual thing is a pretty good thing we should keep pursuing. Like, what else would you like to see us build? Because we want to go back to our teams and say, we could do more. What other things do you think would be great for us to consider building that would help you guys?
I think you kind of touched on it in your presentation about how, influencer marketing is becoming more and more distrusted. And we're finding that especially on the retail side of things, So one thing that has been really interesting is the way that we are trying to pivot how we're working with influencers or content creators and trying to be more authentic, really testimonial driven. And so I'd love to see Reddit create something sort of similar to a creator program or creator collaboration program that other channels like Meta or TikTok have, but also take advantage of the fact that communities and power users on Reddit are very authentic. It's one of the most trusted platforms. So something along those lines of where, advertisers could collaborate with those power users or communities to create ads or validation for their brands.
Yep.
I know this question is about what more could Reddit be doing, but also want to acknowledge what you guys have already been doing. Like your product roadmap is stacked, and you've really come so far too with a lot of the more engaging ad units, rolling out dynamic ads recently. We were really excited on Nike to test those out, and we were an alpha partner, and shout out to Drew and Kelsey who have been amazing at helping us kind of through that and testing and learning. I think one thing that I would love to see is recently Reddit released Reddit Professional, which is an amazing, insightful dashboard to be able to track sentiment over time, specifically within the organic space, but would love if there is a possibility in the future to incorporate paid into that, just to see kind of sentiment within ads on Reddit.
Drew's building that as we speak.
Yeah, he's on it, laptop out.
Yeah.
I would say, the Home Depot for a long time has prioritized shopper marketing and dynamic ads, just to say yet again, is something that we have been asking for, product feed based for a long time. And it's something that we prioritize for a customer who is really in that need mindset. And they're maybe not looking to complete a project, but they're in a need state of, I have to remember to get an air filter. I have to remember to pick up a garden hose. I have to remember to, whatever that product, easy off-the-shelf product is from the Home Depot, they need it then and they need it fast, So the ability to leverage that catalog to a great extent is what we're really excited about. The ability to leverage that catalog to reach customers with a product when they're in that real need state is something that we're really looking forward to.
Yeah, and I think that we've got that. It's coming. And we're going to layer on the keywords and that, so we get right to that moment right when right in that need state, and we're excited to start testing that hopefully this year. Cool. The yellow light is now turned red, so it's telling me we're out of time. But I want to thank you guys for joining us, and thank you guys for joining us. We'll be around for a little bit if there are any other questions, but thank you, Rice, for having us.
Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed this Retail Innovation Conference replay. We'll be doing more of these over the next few months. We went into the archives, really curated the best of the best from the show. And I'll be honest, there were quite a few bests in there. But really our goal is to cover various topics, trends, technologies, and really get the right mix of speakers for you to enjoy. So you'll be hearing a mix of brand practitioners like our incredible panel today, as well as executives who are part of some of the leading platforms in this space. And of course, we'll get a few consultants, analysts, and even a few VC folks in there too. So stay tuned because over the next few months, we have plenty more to share with you. But for now, that's it from us, everyone. We'll see you next time.